Madeley now covering Hunter, but it's now Peter Osgood. There's a chance now, and he's hit it again. It's offside. It's offside. It won't count.
Football made Ian Hutchinson a Chelsea hero. Then it slowly broke him. Supporters remember the famous throw, the fearless headers, the FA Cup glory, but they rarely saw the price behind those moments. Every match brought another collision, another injection, another painkiller. Chelsea captain Ron Harris once said, "He used to go where other players feared to go. He was a 110% player." Those words described Ian Hutchinson perfectly. He never avoided danger. He never protected himself. He gave everything the game demanded. Years later, Hutchinson admitted what nobody in the crowd could see. "In the end, I was taking painkillers before every match because I wanted to play so much." That was the hidden cost of being Ian Hutchinson. While Chelsea celebrated one of their bravest heroes, his own body was already beginning to give up. The knees grew weaker. The pain became constant. Every comeback became harder than the last. But walking away was never part of his character, because courage had built his career. It would also become the reason for his tragic fall. This is not simply the story of a Chelsea legend. It is the story of a footballer who gave everything to the badge, until there was almost nothing left of himself. Subscribe, because some football heroes lifted trophies, while silently losing everything else. Ian Hutchinson was never expected to become a Chelsea hero. He was just a young striker from Derby, the son of a foundry worker, raised in a world where nothing came easily. Football became his escape, then it became his future. His journey began in local football, before moving to Burton Albion, then to Cambridge United. He was not famous, he was not expensive, and he certainly was not England's next superstar. But one man saw something others did not: Dave Sexton. In 1968, Chelsea signed Hutchinson for a modest fee. It barely made the headlines. Many believed Chelsea had signed another hard-working forward, nothing more. Even inside the dressing room, some wondered if he truly belonged. He lacked the elegance of Peter Osgood. He looked raw, unpolished. But Hutchinson possessed something far more valuable: fearlessness. Every loose ball mattered. Every header became a fight. Every defender knew they were in for a battle. He never played to entertain. He played to win. The doubts disappeared quickly. In his first full First Division season, he scored 16 league goals in just 26 appearances. The unknown striker from Derby had become one of Chelsea's most dangerous weapons. His greatest days were just beginning. Sadly, so were his darkest ones. Ian Hutchinson did not play football with style. He played with courage. Every match became a battle. Every defender became an opponent to conquer. He threw himself into headers, chased lost causes, and never expected an easy afternoon. It did not take long for Stamford Bridge to fall in love with him, not because he was flashy, because he was fearless. Beside him stood Peter Osgood, Chelsea's biggest star, graceful, elegant, naturally gifted. Hutchinson was different. He did the dirty work. He fought for every ball. He created space. He absorbed the punishment. Together, they balanced each other perfectly. Years later, Osgood never forgot what Hutchinson meant to him. "He was my best mate. We called each other bruv, and that's what we were like, brothers. I wouldn't have swapped him for anyone in the league." That was not ordinary praise. It came from one of Chelsea's greatest players. Even football writer Brian Glanville described Hutchinson as a courageous striker, powerful in the air, physically intimidating, always willing to challenge where others hesitated. Then there was the weapon every opponent feared: his throw-ins. They traveled extraordinary distances, almost like corners launched from the touchline. Defenders never knew where the ball would land, and Chelsea knew exactly how dangerous they could become. Everything about Hutchinson's game demanded sacrifice. His body absorbed the blows. His reputation kept growing. Supporters saw a warrior. His teammates saw someone they could trust. Nobody realized the punishment was already beginning to leave permanent scars. The greatest night of his career was now only one match away. Chelsea had waited decades. The FA Cup still belonged to someone else. Then came 1970. Standing in their way was Leeds United, one of England's hardest teams. The first final became a battle. The tackles were fierce. The pitch was brutal. Chelsea fell behind. Time was running out. Then Ian Hutchinson changed everything. Late in the match, he powered home the equaliser. Chelsea had another chance. The replay at Old Trafford was just as demanding. Neither side gave an inch. Then came the moment Chelsea supporters would never forget. Hutchinson launched one of his famous long throws deep into the penalty area. The ball eventually reached David Webb. Webb scored. Chelsea had won the FA Cup for the first time. Hutchinson had helped create one of the greatest nights in the club's history. Supporters celebrated a hero. Newspapers celebrated the victory, but nobody knew The fearless football that made Ian Hutchinson unforgettable would soon begin taking everything back. The greatest triumph of his career had arrived. So had the beginning of his tragic fall. For Ian Hutchinson, the hardest opponent was never a defender. It was his own body. Not long after Chelsea's greatest triumph, the injuries began to arrive. Then they refused to leave. His knees became a constant problem. Cartilage damage followed. Recovery after recovery. Setback after setback. Just when he looked ready to return, another injury struck. He broke a leg, fought his way back, then broke it again. A broken arm followed. The pain never truly disappeared. One injury stole weeks. The next stole months. Eventually, they began stealing years. The greatest frustration was not missing matches, it was missing moments. While Chelsea lifted the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1971, Hutchinson could only watch from the sidelines. He had helped build one of the finest Chelsea teams, but his broken body denied him one of its greatest nights. Still, he refused to feel sorry for himself. He kept chasing another comeback, another chance, another match, because giving up was never part of Ian Hutchinson's character. Sadly, his body had already started making that decision for him. Winning had come at a cost. Now the bill was arriving. Ian Hutchinson's body was beginning to fail him. The knee injuries never truly healed. Every comeback looked promising. Then another setback arrived. One operation became another, then another. Broken bones, damaged cartilage, months spent recovering, only to suffer another injury soon after. The football that had made him famous was now taking everything away. Before the 1970 FA Cup final, he needed a cortisone injection, simply to take the field. As the years passed, the operations never seemed to end. Eventually, he underwent 13 knee operations. The physical damage did not stop there. Years of medication also left lasting damage to his stomach. Still, Hutchinson refused to change the way he played. He once admitted, "I am not afraid of tough physical contact. After all, that is what my game is all about." That was never just confidence. It was the way he lived. The same fearlessness that had made him one of Chelsea's most loved players was now destroying the career he had fought so hard to build. Football had given Ian Hutchinson unforgettable memories, but it was asking for far more in return. Ian Hutchinson never stopped fighting. His body simply stopped responding. Every return brought hope. Every setback took a little more away. The explosive striker Chelsea once relied on could no longer play the game the same way. The club was changing, the team was changing, and Hutchinson was slowly being left behind. He wanted another chance, another run in the first team, another opportunity to prove he still belonged. Instead, he found himself on the transfer list. Hutchinson later spoke about that painful period. He questioned how he could be judged when he was still trying to recover. It was one of the hardest moments of his career, not because he had stopped loving Chelsea, but because his body could no longer give the club what it once had. In July 1976, it was over. Ian Hutchinson retired from professional football. He was only 27 years old. Most forwards reach their peak at that age. Hutchinson was already walking away from the game. He left Chelsea with 144 appearances and 58 goals, numbers that tell only part of the story, because his greatest contribution could never be measured by statistics. It was written in courage and paid for in pain. Leaving football never meant leaving Chelsea behind. Ian Hutchinson tried to build a new life. He worked for Chelsea in the club's commercial department. He later went into business. For a time, he even ran a pub with his old friend, Peter Osgood. The bond between them never disappeared. Neither did his love for Chelsea, but life after football was never easy. The game had taken too much from his body. Holding down regular work became difficult. The injuries never truly left him. Neither did the pain. Away from football, there were personal changes too. He married 3 times. He became a father, and like many former players of his generation, he quietly tried to rebuild a life beyond the stadium. But the years of punishment continued to catch up with him. His health steadily declined. Operations became part of life. Treatment replaced training. On 19 September 2002, Ian Hutchinson died after a long illness. He was only 54 years old. Chelsea had lost one of its bravest heroes, but those who knew him never spoke first about the goals or the famous throw. They remembered the man, the teammate, the fighter, the footballer who never once asked anyone else to take the hit for him. Football never stands still. New heroes arrive. New trophies are lifted. New generations fill the stands. And slowly, yesterday's heroes disappear into silence. Some are remembered forever. Others quietly fade away. Not because they deserve to, but because time never waits. Ian Hutchinson became one of those men. A footballer who helped change Chelsea's history, yet never lived long enough to enjoy the long legacy his courage deserved. While others enjoyed long careers, Hutchinson's greatest years were stolen, not by a lack of talent, but by injuries, by pain, by sacrifice. He belonged to a generation that simply kept playing, no matter the cost. Many footballers from that era carried hidden scars. Some battled illness. Some struggled after retirement. Some were gone far too soon. Ian Hutchinson became another of football's quiet tragedies. Yet Chelsea never forgot what he gave. The club's first FA Cup triumph will always carry his fingerprints. So will the memories of those who watched him throw himself into battles that others refused to fight. Perhaps that is the greatest measure of a footballer. Not how long he played, but how impossible he became to forget. Ian Hutchinson did not leave football as its richest star, or its most famous. He left as something far rarer, a Chelsea hero whose courage outlived his career, and whose sacrifice still deserves to be remembered. Subscribe, because football's greatest heroes are sometimes the ones history almost leaves behind.